Kiyonosuke was standing at the entrance at the dining hall wearing a gloomy expression. And here we are, back with the Raging Loop. This is Roboprinny here, and we are about to set out on an adventure of what is going to happen, and we're going to do the thing, and we're going to have a great time. He was never particularly vigorous, but now his visage was haggard, and he wasn't nearly as arrogant as before. I couldn't blame him. The only person who was friendly, flirtatious to Rikako Umatsu, was in an awful state. Also, despite all he said, he actually relied on Takumi-san. They seemed to choose close in term of age too. And from what I heard, he never really said anything wrong. The only problem was his insensitive choice of words. The feast was a communication game. Even if you were right about something, didn't matter much if you couldn't convince anyone. Thank you very much. Still, he was the one of the mere two confirmed humans. Treating him badly, making him upset wouldn't help at all. I had to be courteous. Let's go. Chimi had calmed down a bit. I already told her my suspicion. I now had to hope she handled the feast well. All that was left now was to get some nutrients to support my hard-working brain, right? She ladled what appeared to be rice gruel from the large pot. It was a thick, white soup with vegetables, rice, and something brown inside. Jamie? I whispered to her. What do we do? We were talking about the thing where I had to avoid the local food. You know what? I'll stick to my diet until the end of this time.
Okay. Arigato.
What did I mean by this time? Did I think I had another life or something? It was fine. It wasn't something I was cool with dying or just on the off chance I got a second shot. Dying was a acceptable option. I wasn't about to compromise on that. There's no point in walking around, so I'll just wait here. I have a bunch of allergies. Hey, I was lying, but telling actual allergy sufferers that they should just eat and they'd be cured was an actual murder. Well, there were some efforts to cure allergies by carefully injecting the allergen and vaccine, but that was a subject for the doctor. Anyway, going back to the dorm by myself was dangerous since they suspected me. So I just waited on the corner of my room, still hungry. Where are Yasunaga-kun and Haru-chan? I'll go call them. I went upstairs, and when I reached the second floor, I stopped for a moment. I heard some rustling. Was it possible they'd gotten that intimate in just a few minutes? Was I about to ruin the mood? Well, food was important too. I said, to get their attention and slowly went up, making sure I was loud enough for them to hear me coming. It's lunchtime. Oh, Yasunaga-kun? Hello. The room was full of stuff. It was a huge mess. You looking for something? No luck? Yes, I was told there was a new apron in the attic, but I couldn't find it, so we were checking other places too. So that was it.
見た
Huh? Could you not tell anyone about this? Well, I did come up carefully, but it's not like I saw anything I shouldn't have.
あ
Were you going at it?
何言うのよ
Hey, I'm kidding. You know, you wouldn't do something like that at a time like this.
もちろんよ
Really now, I was still kind of worried. Anyways, why not take a break and get some food? They didn't argue as we prepared to go back. There was a loud noise from downstairs.
何
Yasunaka-kun and I looked at each other, then ran out of the room without saying a word. We were met with a strange scene. I instantly realized what happened and who was responsible. Kiyanosuke was wearing a furious expression, his shoulders shaking. There was an actual shattered plate of rice gruel at his feet. The contents were still steaming. He was facing Kori Orobi-san, who was standing completely still. Did he throw his food to the floor? Was it that bad? No way. This was clearly something bigger than that.
いきなりどうしたんです
Jimmy and the others didn't seem to understand either. They swiftly uneased.
なんです
And what? Wolf's Bane, the plant. There's aconite in the food. What?
メイコちゃん食べた
Meiko-chan, did you eat any?
いただきますまだ他に誰も食べてない
What about the rest of you? Hold on, I'm so lost. Is that true? Look at these leaves. They shine. The other side isn't. White and the tips is pointy. They smell different too. This isn't mugwort or windflower.
ほんまです。こりゃ嘘じゃ。
You use wild plants, Mom?
ええ
That was close. What a mistake. Someone almost got poisoned. She wants to kill us.
待ちなさいよただ間違えただけでしょそれだけでそんなひどい
Haru-chan stopped talking when she realized the suspect was acting strange. Kori-san was staring right at Kiyanosuke, she not moving an inch and smiling. She completely stared him down. Yes. The response was so delayed that we had no idea what it was for. When Kiyanosuke backed away a bit, his expression shifted from anger to fear. Mom?
みんな死んでしまえばいいのよ
As she stood there wailing mad, she brandished a knife. She was hardly moving quickly. But the sight of the blade had stunted our reflexes. I had seen some bizarre corpses here, but I bore witness to what pure malice could do. But still living, violent, maleficent, killing intent was intense enough to paralyze everyone present. I barely registered the scene unfold before me. Staggering a bit, the woman passed the counter. The sharp knife was still green with something, likely shaving. She raised her voice and aimed her poison weapon at the nearest target. I'm going to tackle her. No, Kiyanosuke. I don't know why I moved when I did. I was a man of word, not impulse. In times of crisis, I was the type to turn tail and run after making some sort of... I shouldn't have been on good enough terms with Kiyanosuke or Kiri-san to risk my life for them. Yet when I come to my senses, my body was dancing, charging straight for Kori-san with my right shoulder. After a brief struggle, we collapsed. I had heard her let out a strained crackle in my ear. I had to change my posture. Unless I pinned her knife down, I'd But in the end, it turned out I wasn't cut out for the job. These roundabout thoughts were just delayed the inevitable. When the madly laughing woman embraced me, my thoughts ground to a complete halt. I'm gonna die. Fuck. She stabbed me in the back. Simple as that. To her, I was just another obstacle that had to be removed. I didn't know if the wound itself was fatal, but I could tell that the blade had sunk in deep. That it was coated in leaf green poison. It must have been a near instant death. My mind quickly grew hazy, and my final moments were those of self-reflection. Reckless actions really aren't my forte after all. Nice! Guys, I got the bad ending. I'm so bad at surviving. Oh my goodness. Look at me go. Let's go. Bad endings. Woo! She aimed her poison weapon at the nearest target, Kiyonosuke-san. Tackler, I die. Final weapon. I had no idea why my body. I grabbed the nearest chair without even thinking about it. It's old, wooden, heavy. Picking it up made me lose my balance for a bit. I pointed its leg at the corner at the would-be murderer and dashed forward as fast as I could. I crashed a cry of pain and a scream. A mistake of it, I attempted to keep Kori-san pinned down. I pressed the edge of the chair against her knife arm. She cried out in pain and the blade clattered to the floor. Chimi then quickly kicked it away. In hindsight, it all happened in a mere of seconds. In fact, tying her up was way harder. What was her foaming at the mouth and struggling? At the end, we bound her limbs and gagged at her to silence her bloodthirsty screams. With that done, she had no choice but to face reality. I know I'm probably not the best person to ask, but what do you even do about this? 6 of us stood in the mist right outside the dining hall. Kuri-san was locked inside. No, that can't be. She's just not feeling well.
香織さん、やっぱり無理してたんだね。
Of course she was. Do you guys have any important how important Yoshisaku was to her? He was foolish, short-tempered, and annoying, but not exactly why she treasured him so much. She often said that he was as reckless as his father. I'll take responsibility and calm her down myself. Please forgive her for... We should decide this at the feast. Please wait. This is a personal outburst. Has nothing to do with the feast. Keep her out of it. How can you be so certain she might have succumbed to the corruption? No, Sato-san? Everything in the mist has been decided at the feast. Breaking that law risks falling victims to the corruption. Very well, let's go. No, Yasunaga-kun. She'll be killed. I won't let that happen. Please, look after her. Not gonna lock me up again? No one replied. Apparently it didn't matter anymore. Chimi? Chimi? Are you there, Chimi? Chimi? She was making the same face as she did when she talked about God. Strangely enough, there was an emotion in her eyes. I could see 90% resignation and 10% fear. Watching me until she passed out of sight, she followed the others. Where's the sake?
そんなのもういいじゃないですか。
清めるのは大事よ。ほれ、野里様。
Thank you. That hits the spot.
ちいちゃんも。やすくん。あんたは舐めるだけ。
お姉ちゃんは？
植松様はもう。
私世話するわ。 この子の。どうせ無駄。
Genie, get a grip. Let's begin. I vote hang Madame Arobi. For what reason? She's dangerous. In that case, I will vote for Rikaku Umatsu-san for the same reason. What about the rest? This is a temporary vote for now. What do you think?
私はどっちもくくるべきと思っておりますよ。
私今頭回ってない。植松里香子をくくるべきよ。香織さんは話せばわかるかもしれないけど、あっちはもう化け物じゃない。
What about you,
お
child?
姉ちゃん食べるの？
Wasn't that... What's that supposed to mean? Listen, if you want to protect Rikako, then vote to hang Arobi. She won't understand. 3 didn't vote, and 3 who did are in favor of hanging. It's decided. This is absurd. Is this how you repay her moving here and working so hard on our behalf? Hear me out, will you? My mom is just a bit out of it right now. However, Umatsu-san is basically a mindless animal. She doesn't even have the capacity to vote on things. Unlike my mom, she's a yomibito now. Even if we hung my mom today, what will we do tomorrow? Do you have a way of fixing Usumatsu-san? Looks like it's decided. How simplistic. I know you're biased because Madame Arobi is a relative, but you don't see the big picture. What? Think about it. Our top priority is to kill the wolves. That comes before all else. Yomibitos aren't wolves, are they? That basically proves that Rika isn't a wolf. What do you mean? Remember the legend? The wolves are Yomototsu Akami, being already corrupted by Yomi. Do you really believe they become Yomibito as well? Yamaki-san, what's your opinion?
それは
Here's a hypothesis. Powerful corruption slaughters you like it did with those journalists and your brother. However, weaker levels of corruption cause madness. Mad guardians are wolves, while mad humans are Yamibito. That means that the corruption punishment can only be slaughter for wolves, and either slaughter or Yamibito transformation for human. That's just a convenient delusion. Indeed, I have no way to prove it, but I can make it more plausible. If wolves could go mad due to the corruption, would they even look like Rekekeko does? These are beasts disguised as humans. Would they truly look like that if they'd gone mad? I think the beasts would show their true selves. Their fury. Is that what happened to Rikako? No.
そうかもしれんです。それじゃあ香織さんを先にすべきなのかね。
耐えば
You're basing your debate, the decision on fairy tale. We had actual deaths here. This is ridiculous. I'm the one who's ridiculous. To accept the fear of corruption means to accept the legends. See, I've accepted it. Fearing the corruption while disregarding the legend is truly ridiculous, don't you think? Chini.
私は神様が怖い。こうして全てを手のひらの上でもてあそんでいる神様が。
What are you saying?
それでもいやそれだからこそ怖いものと戦わなきゃならなくて戦うには武器が必要で春秋さんえなんで私はヤス君君に
Yasukun?
何を
What, Chini? I'm not sure I understand. Sarazawa.
野里さん
Start the proper vote. There's no point in just talking. But this was going to happen sooner or later. If you're truly casting your vote, it's only fair for us to cast ours. But whether I can forgive you or not is another story, Chini.
分かってる
I know. No objection, then let's begin the vote.
私の考えを言うね。
Here's what I
野里さん
think.
の言い分は半分
Nosanata
まで
is
正
half
しい。
right. We're
こ
supposed
の
to
場は
search for
狼を探すために
wolves
使う。
here.
ただ、
But I'm
その論拠が
completely
昔
against
話の
relying
解
on
釈なの
legends
は
for
ろう。
evidence.
も
Mochi,
ち
the old
狼
guy,
じじいや
and
匠兄ちゃんは人間に殺されてるんだ。
I don't know why I'm reading this. I normally don't read the girl lines.
ならば昔話じゃなくて今まであったことを振り返って考えるべき。それでまず私と同じように優先順位をちゃんとつけられる人はこの中で誰か。野里さんはさっき言った通り、メイコちゃんは若すぎて無理。はるちゃんはぶっちゃけ野里さんへのアンチとヤス君の味方をするだろうって思った。状況に関わらずね。
うん。
タエばあちゃんはきっと伝説やら何やら中心で語るだろうって分かってる。一等信心深い人だからね。じゃあヤス君はどうだろう。辛いこともあったし、今はお母さんがくくられる寸前で焦る気持ちは分かる。だけどその対抗としてリカ子さんをくくる方向で進めちゃうのはどうかな。安水の人間なら確かに長者をくくる方向に誘導するのは簡単かもだけど、君には優先度ってものが分かってるはず。怪し読み人なきに千なんて言葉より前に直接の脅威になり得る狼を探すべきってね。私の知ってるヤス君は切羽詰まっても理屈っぽくそんなことを言う人だった。
Chini, I understand what you're saying. I just can't forgive him. Eek. Whatever you talk, it always makes a mess of things. Takumi, Yoshitsugu, and Mogi are dead because of you. And now you want to take my mother? I'm sick of you.
ちょっと兄ちゃん、どうしたの？落ち着いて。
So yeah, I forgot about the purpose of the feast. It was just an act of petty revenge. I used Haru-chan for that. Like you said, that's all there is to me. I'm a pretty boring person. Are you still not
そうだ
satisfied?
ね。らしくないとしか思わない。ヤス君、これはきっと疑心暗鬼だと思う。でも言うね。香織さんが食事を出した時、安永君と春ちゃんはいなかったよね。もし他の人があれで全滅してたら残るは君たち2人だった。あとは春明さんか。もしあなたが狼だったらとても楽な展開だよね。
Are you suggesting I convince Mom to poison everyone?
そうだったら最悪だって思うよ。鳥かぶとを香織さんが取ったのはおそらく朝だよね。それ以外暇はなかったし、ずいぶん早起きだったし、その時からみんなを殺す気だった。夜の間に吹き込まれたとするなら話はわかるよね。
そんな。でも夜に連絡する手は。
狼は2人いる。
まさか
香織さんが唯一残った息子のために一人で汚れを被る覚悟で残る人の皆殺しを狙ったなら。
私も人だもん。
最後に狼と人が残っても投票にならない。春ちゃんは何もできない。
嘘だよね。やすくん。
That's impossible. I mean, if Mom were a wolf, Yoshitsugu wouldn't have died. She would have killed me to spare him, though. You'd think I'd convince her to do that? She'd never listen. She loved him way more than me.
ちえねえ、あんまりよ。兄ちゃんがお母さんにそんなこと言うはずないじゃん。
別に私はヨシ君が殺されたとは言ってない。彼は単に夜出歩いて汚れを受けただけかもしれない。それに香織さんは狼じゃなくても息子が狼だって知ったら汚れをいとわず助けるかもしれない。
そうやって都合のいいことを言って兄ちゃんをどんどん悪者にしようとしてるようにしか見えないわ。どうしちゃったのよ、ちえねえ。私たちのことはどんな時だって守ってくれてたじゃん。あの人なの？ 不妻子さんがそうやって言えって。あの人。
そんなことはないよ。ただあの人の真似をして自分の頭で考えてみただけ。一番信じたくないことだって、それが真実である可能性からは目を背けるべきじゃないって。
And so you decided to vote against me and ruin our friendship.
だってらしくないんだもん。そうやって脅しみたいなことを言うヤス君がさ。私からしたら君だよ、変わっちゃったように見えるのはさ。
So who will you vote
言
for?
ったことには責任を持たなきゃね。私はヤス君を疑ったから、それをちゃんと形に残すよ。
One vote for Yasunaga Orobi. We messed up the order, but in terms of seating order, Taba is first. How will you vote?
私は香織さんにするわよ。植松様は確かに狼とは思えん。
What about you, Noso-san? Now, being respectful, my answer doesn't change. In fact, Sarazaura's words made me all more concerned. Yasunaga Orobi, in all honesty, your current attitude makes it hard to believe you are a wolf. But likely your mother is. One vote for Kori Orobi. What about you, Yasunaga Orobi? I'm still voting for Reikako.
私も。
I'm voting for Reikako Amatsutu. The child can be ignored.
待って、メイコちゃ
Wait.
ん、よく考えて。あなたの票で人の勝ち負けが決まっちゃうかもしれないんだから。
Chini, you'll go for that? You'll trick a child to take her vote.
それしか手がない
If
なら
that's what
何だ
it
ってす
takes,
る。
I'll do it.
メイコちゃん、リカコさんがいなくなったら嫌だよね。だったら
It's pointless. Even if she votes for me, it'll be a three-way tie.
いらない人選ぶの？
そうよ。
Yes.
だったらおばちゃん怖かったから。
You mean the woman from the dining hall?
うん。
It's decided then. No. This has to be a sick joke. Mom will die because of something like this. A vote is a vote.
兄ちゃん。
終わった。
I heard muffled screams and sobs from the dining hall behind me. Gagged and tied, Kori Arobi was still wailing. She couldn't move properly and had a pole fixed to her shoulders, but I was still worried about enough to check every now and then. The lack of change helped calm my nerve, but at the same time I resented myself a bit for it. Quite a bit of time had passed since the feast had begun. What kind of decision would they make? The daily wolf lynching hanging had failed every single time so far. Considering the number of days remaining, how many people were left, if they messed up today, the humans would lose all hope of surviving. If either Kori Arobi or Rikako Amatsu ended up chosen, there would be no chance anymore. Once I saw people leaving the hall, my mouth moved on its own. It's done. Their eyes were steady. They walked in my direction. Not to me, though, but to the dining hall. You chose Kori-san. I asked in a way. I was speaking to the last representative of sanity in this place, Kiyonosuke Nosato. Move. We didn't converse. His tone, the look in his eyes, they were different from usual. His usual ignorant pride was gone, and in its place stood a deadly determination. Yasunaga-kun. I lost. Haru-chan.
私は嫌だって言った。
Orobe-san.
新内様のおぼし飯じゃ。
Chimi.
春秋さんはこの子。
Miko was at the rear of the group, somewhat hesitant. She walked up to me. I moved aside to let them pass. They all entered the dining hall, dragged me out to the victim. The ones holding the rope During the dragging were Kiyonosuke. Followed behind was Tei, prodding her onward with a bamboo broom. Stop. As his mother cried out in pain, Yasunaga-kun and Orobi followed the group. Stop them. Haru was bawling. Yasunaga Orobi was shaking, not even trying to hide his sobs. His face was warped. Someone. As the group faded away, the gag fell out and the victim's voice grew loud. Not a scrap of reason remained, only raw terror. Or perhaps madness. Oh, please, someone. Beg for her life. However, I didn't hear any pleads to the very end. I painfully realized I wasn't participating in the feast. I wasn't part of this life selection game, bound by otherly rules. Don't look at. I turned Mako away, hugged her, and covered her ears. Because of that, I couldn't cover my own. Parent-like deductions, what a weird way. In a way, as the group disappeared into the mist, I somehow felt as though the screams or laughs grew even clearer. I was subjected to the illusion until the very end. During the final moments, the mother called out her son's name. It was the name of the elder son. He responded by calling for his mother. At the very last moment, it felt like the victim shouted out a different name. There was a strange sound followed by silence. Mako? Mako's body was surprisingly warm. In response, she just nodded. Let's escape from this place tomorrow. She nodded again. Give up on Reikeko. Mako started crying. I let her go, took her by the hand, and led her to the dorm. There I took all the remaining food I had. Then I escorted her back to her place. Locked up. I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning. Still crying, she nodded. Eat this, all of it, okay? I gave her some food and closed the door. Once I turned around, I saw them. Today's feast is over. There wasn't a hint of emotion in his voice. I see. As one who didn't participate in the feast, I was in no longer position to criticize or support them. They just turned around and returned their places, leaving no indicator that they actually heard me. 3 of them were headed in the same direction. I didn't feel like joining them, and instead, casting a glare at their backs as they walked. Paralysis was killing me. Under the assumption I would die tomorrow, I decided I would go through the mist to Saranaga, a strict taboo here. What kind of death would that get me? Would I be injured, wander into some otherly world? Something else entirely. Or perhaps I'd be eaten by a monster. I still had that incomprehensible memory, but it wasn't enough to make me suspect that was the most likely scenario. Normally, people didn't remember dying. The unknown was scary, but journeying into the unknown meant conquering that fear, so you could say that there were some perks to remembering that death. But if it were guaranteed that I would die like that, I wasn't really keen on the idea. That had hurt like hell, not to mention how terrifying the experience was. Then think of a better way to die. One that won't hurt so much, or at least would be worth the pain. Like if it led to the survival of a young child. Anyways, I'd wager my life. All that remained was finding supporters. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. Whoosh! I threw a Yakuza kick into the wall. Rah! I did a low kick with my other leg. Kia! The 7 treasures have finally been lost. The elements of the sacred orb reduced to rust. In the jungle of the distant void, the Buddha's corpse shot out, Rah! As I seen the Buddha ash rock, I kicked the wall with my ass, which prompted a response from the other
うる
side.
さい
I heard Jimmy's angry voice through the front door. You sound like you enjoyed it.
あんなん誰だって反応に困るけど
The walls here were thin. Let's escape
ど
tomorrow.
んな流れで何を言い出してるの
If you can still talk like that, you're perfectly sane. Escape it is. Let's say bye-bye at the nest full of
あの
crazy.
ね春明さん
I'm serious. Still outside my door, she fell silent. It's only about 8, still a safe time. I walked up the door and unlocked it. Damn, you look
そ
awful.
んなに
Just
何その
joking.
軽妙なふっかけ彼氏か
You put on a tough face, but it was it's a mask hiding some supernatural suffering, isn't it? Well, if you don't want to. Take a seat.
お邪魔します
Alone in an empty room, we sat cross-legged and looked at each other. Tell me what happened during the feast today. Who are the wolves?
もうわかんないというかもう誰でもいい
The situation was hopeless. She felt the same way. So far, there wasn't a single lynching with a good reason behind it. It didn't feel like they had gotten lucky and
い
killed a
そう
wolf.
な青びょうたんが狼ならなすっきり憎めるのに
Takumi-san said he clean, so that's not likely. But still, assuming Yasunaga-kun was actually a wolf, I really doubted he was cold-hearted enough to keep up the act of a human while seeing off his mother to her death. Like Chimi had pointed out, it was the best to assume Kori-san had only gone and done what she did to her son. If everyone died, only one was left. He'd be the victor, regardless if he was human or wolf, probably. Whatever the case, it was important to note that it was wrong to guess whether Yasunaga-kun was a wolf based on this alone. Kori Orobi was in a messed up state of mind that led her to plot the deaths of herself and everyone else just to save her son. It was simply the immense power of a motherly love at work. It messed up by sending Haru-chan to the second floor. Kori-san probably resented me for that. Now, not to mention I was the one who pinned her down. Being the target of a dead person admittedly was a rare experience, and in my option it was uncomfortable.
やっぱ私には無理だったな春明さんの真似は
My
う
example?
ん考えていろいろやってみたけど
Was I a bad influence on her? Well, carefully deliberating your actions were never a bad thing, obviously. Also, it was worth nothing. She pointed out that Yasunaga tried guilting her wasn't like him. Her own intuition was important too. Besides him, there was Tei-san, who believed nothing but the superstitions, Haru, who agreed with Yasunaga, and the one who sealed Kori-san's fate. Everyone is suspicious.
だからもう誰でもいい
I've decided to help
どうやって
Mako-chan.
ここを出て無理だって言ってんじゃん
It's better than just sitting around and waiting for death, isn't it? If she turns out to be a wolf, you'd be down to 1. Lucky day, huh?
なのかなもうわかんない人殺しちゃった
She said it casually, but I could tell that it was hard for her to say it. It's not your fault. I responded equally casually. I felt like breaking the illusion would be too much to handle.
軽っ
But you were against it, weren't you?
一応殺人を止めなかったってことはそれに賛同したってことじゃない
I'm in the same in that regard.
そっか
Also, the law would understand that you made the wrong decision because of the circumstance. While being punished under a proper rule of law is indefinitely better than being punished by some weird law of the mountain. Or what do you want to die with a supernatural death? No dice, huh? Man, this was complicated. Is it God's fault?
半分
Half of it, yeah. But you can't explain the other half, right? Then talk,
どう言え
at
ばい
least.
いのかな。神様は不幸
Huh?
いや辞書的な意味で不幸のことをそう呼んでるわけじゃなくて、そのね、神様がいるからどうやっても私たちは幸せになれない。
Is he visible?
私たち
Are
は
they
みんな見て
visible?
る。でも本質は目に見えないものかも。
Let me ask about this visible part. Is it human? Though slowly and hesitantly she gave me a light nod. Is it someone from Yasumitsu? Silence, neither yes or no. Then is it someone from Kimi? She cut her silence. Her shoulders were shaking a bit. Then
違う、やっぱ違う。人間じゃない。人間をどうしたって神様はどうにもならない。
dang, she's scary looking. I knew it'd go like this. Calm down and explain, otherwise we'll both be
いっ
killed.
そ殺してくれればいい。こんなひどい夢とっとと終わらせてほしいのに。ねえ春明さん、私を殺して。あなたの手なら私死ねる気がする。
What are you saying? Get a hold of yourself.
私しっかりしてる。私は汚れてなんかない。私おかしいのは藤吉全部よ。おかしいのは神様の方よ。
Is blank some sort of state of being? I just kind of blurted out something without thinking. Chimi was clearly in a state of panic. This despair was one cause, but someone panicked like this couldn't explain themselves properly. Also, I didn't feel like this was simply some spiritual beings she could see. She could perceive blank as a cessation of sorts, and the fact others couldn't caused her panic. Explaining a sense like that wasn't easy, and trying to explain it in detail was also a reminder of how much it scared her. I had to try and understand what she was sensing, find a better word for it other than blank. That was what I thought to myself after saying those words, but why did she suddenly go quiet? She was raising her head. Her eyes were wide and staring right at me. She completely stopped, voicing her pain. And with that, we will end this, and we will see you in the next one.